At the TestarsQuarter community, and we're starting off this month with, we started with a book announcement. I don't know if any of us saw it from Princess, but this month, by the end of this month, we will be having techies, no, not techies meet testers. I always call it techies meet testers because techies meet testers was one of the biggest events we had. So something coming up like it again sometime in March. I think March 30th of March. So let me even share my screen so you see the flyer. We have started registration for the event. 1 minute. 1 minute, guys. 1 minute, guys. We've started registration for the event. Just in 24 hours that we released the link, we have over 200 people. I think we have up to 200 people who are coming for the event. And once we have up to 250, we're going to be closing up for the registration. Please, I want to know if I'm being heard. Am I being heard? Or am I talking to myself? Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Wow. Hello? Okay, okay. You can just say, okay, Folari, do you have a question or can you hear me? You can use the thumbs up button if you can hear me, the thumbs up, or just let me know at least someone can hear me. All right. So thank you so much. We have a link to this event and it's Testers Match Meetup. It's going to be fun. Like, let me even drop the link so that anybody who has not registered can, if you have not registered, you can go ahead and register. So yeah, very great. So you're going to be missing a lot because very soon we're going to be closing registration because so many people have registered already and 250. Right now we are going on to 200. So I would like that if you have not registered, the registration link is on the chat session. It's in the chat session. Go ahead and register. So apart from that, you're going to be networking there. You're going to be having what's it called? We're going to be having networking session. We're going to be having time to brainstorm, talk about the software testing industry. As in, there is a whole lot. If anybody attended the Techies Meet Testers event last year, it's going to be just like that. Not so much talking like a conference setting. It's going to be fun. There's enough to eat and drink too. So I'll advise go having for those who want to start a career in software testing. For those who want to start a career in software testing, you want to upskill a software tester and you want to go on with a DM on Slack, or you send me a DM on our Instagram handle. Just send me a DM anywhere and I will give you all the information you need. We are starting up very soon, which is tomorrow, and lesson starts on Monday. You do not want to miss it for anything. So what else do I have in stock for you? Before we start the session proper? 1 minute. Let me check my paper. So there's a whole lot for the month of March. There's a whole lot coming up in April. There's a whole lot coming up in September, which is the testers software testing day. There's a whole lot coming on in November. Like this. Are you ready? So I've talked about the testers meet and greet. We have a community for those who are not in the community. If you're joining from LinkedIn, we have a community. Just go back to our LinkedIn page and join our community, which is the TestarsQuarter. We have so much going on there. There are discussions about it. You can just drop it there. Somebody's always there to help you. Then we have a Testify Academy. You can go to our website and see what we do there. There are courses you can take there for as low as 50K just to upskill. So have our very own we have our very own Temitope, who is going to be taking us on a journey. She's going to be telling us everything we need to do, not just to be a software tester, but to be a professional in the field. So I don't know if Temitope is here, please. Hello. I don't know if this is in a setting where anybody can talk. Okay, sorry. It means I'm so sorry. Let me give access. Let me give access. All right. I don't know, Temitope, please can you try to speak?
Hear me?
Oh, thank you. I think I muted everyone because there are some kind of funny things that happen sometimes when we come on the meeting. So have a lot for us. You have a lot to share. So I'm going to be leaving the stage for you to fill us up with all you have for us this morning. I don't know if everybody's even ready for you. Are we ready for her? You can use yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Temitope. The floor is all yours.
All right, thank you, Testify Academy. I will attempt to share my screen now and then get on with it.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure joining you here today.
Good morning.
I really do hope that the hype, at least that the 1 hour we spend together, will be well worth your time and that we would have a pleasant time together. So please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, great. Okay, so I'll just try and jump right into it. Adobe had shared with me this topic and said she wanted me to talk to you guys about, how to be more than just a software tester, but also be a pro. So I'm not sure if video is allowed, because I tried joining with my video earlier, but it's was declined. Let's see if I can use it.
It's allowed now. It's allowed.
All right, let's see. All right, great. So I feel like it's more engaging when you can see who is talking to you as well than when you're just talking to, or when you're just hearing a voice like behind the scenes. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, talking about, how to be more than just a software tester. And, I strongly believe that being Testify, you guys have been put through how to actually be professional testers and how to just do you have all the skills in terms of the functional testing. They've put you through all of the various ways to test. So you're familiar with how to test manually, exploratory testing, and all of those things. And those are good because at the very least, that is where your that is the first step and the first level of what your skills is about. You need to have the functional background and the functional skills first of all. But beyond that, there are also some other things that you would need to have and know in order to then set yourself apart and become that professional and become that expert that you want to be. And so that's what I'll jump right into today. So my name is Temitope Omolere. I work with InterSwitch. I lead the quality assurance and the program management team. I think of myself as a lifelong learner. I like to enable people's successes, and I am a joyful soul at that. So at the end of the day, I just want to have fun and have a good life. And that has influenced how I've moved through my life and experiences as well, and even my career and job. The goal is always let's make things work and let's make things work well. So anything that I need to do to support whoever needs to get it done is always high, and it's always high on my priority list to do, and I'm always happy to support that. So having introduced myself quickly, I'm going to jump right into it, and I'm going to share very interesting statistics. Back in 2017, there's a firm called Tricentis. They did a survey of some kind. They reviewed about 606 failures from about 314 companies. And in that survey they found out that due to the 606 failures that occurred that year alone, about 3.6 billion people were affected by a software failure, meaning bug, that resulted in 1.7 trillion USD dollar losses. So that's literally 1.7 trillion USD, not Naira. I need us to take note of that. That is 1.7 trillion USD. If we convert it to Naira today, I mean, I imagine the zeros will be like obscene. It will be very long. And the length of downtime that resulted was the cumulative length of downtime was about 268 years. Let me contextualize that for you. None of us is going to live up to 200 years. But because of the various downtimes in the various companies and the duration of time it took for them to fix the problems, the total length of time that result that down of the various downtimes was about 268. That gives you an idea of the influence and the impact of what a software tester does in the industry. You are at the brink of ensuring that things work well. You are at the brink of ensuring that people's livelihoods are secure. You're at the brink of ensuring that people's lives are not disrupted avoidably because of a solution that passed through your hands. So with that context, and with the like kind of skills that you've acquired and you're still going to acquire in Testify Academy and TestarsQuarters, I need you to keep that in mind as we walk through what I'm going to be sharing with us. Because if you don't understand some of this impacts, it's easy to just think it's just a job I'm doing. I'm just having something to pay my bills and something to just get me tide me over till the next month, or something for me to just have a soft life or to cruise, But when you understand the gravity of what you're doing and how you're impacting lives and how you're impacting the economy, you would see that your job is not just a job. It's not just something you do. It's not something that is insignificant in the scale of things and in the scope of things. I also need to emphasize this because there is a sense sometimes in some quarters where people feel like, or even testers themselves feel like, well, I'm not a developer, so I don't have as much clout. No, you do. So if you understand that these numbers is influenced by the work that a tester can do or will do, to say a tester could have probably caught some of these errors and ensured that this didn't happen, tells you that you have influence and you have clout, and you should use that influence properly. So having said that, and like I mentioned earlier, I am sure that you're going to acquire different functional skills, how to test, approaches to testing. You would have gone through the software testing life cycle. You'd have probably been taught about how to do agile testing as well, manual tests, automated tests, performance testing, and all of those things. They are the basic and foundational skills you need to have as a tester. Then there's the automation part where you need to then learn different tools, Cypress, Postman, what's this other one now? The name escapes me now. And then there are several AI tools, AI testing tools that are coming up as well. You need to stay on top of your game. But beyond that, there are some skills that you cannot learn in the classroom. Those skills are things that you by yourself individually needs to sit down and begin to cultivate. And so those are the skills that I'm going to focus on today. And those are the core areas I'm going to focus on today. Not necessarily the functional skills that you can go to a class for and acquire the knowledge, but those things that you cannot acquire in class, but that you need to teach yourself. And it's by teaching yourself those things that you then become a professional, because that's what then stands you out. Like I said, all of you in this class have gone through, on this call, I've gone through most of the same classes. You've taken the same courses, you've taken the same exercises. So you have the same tools. But what would then make one person different from the other person is these skills that I'm going to talk about. And so I've called them the 4 C's to becoming a pro. We're just going to keep it very brief and very fun today. and hopefully I'll be able to finish in time so we can really have ask questions, because that's really what I want us to do, to be able to ask questions and have a good time. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into the first one. The first one is curiosity. A tester has to be very curious. You're wondering what a cat is doing there, right? Because a cat is known to be curious. If it sees something, it will go and find out. That's why there's this saying that says, curiosity kills the cat, because the cat will go and explore. It wants to know what's happening there. Why is it happening? How is it happening? How can it participate and all of that? And that is your superpower as a tester, really. That curiosity you have, the ability to say, oh, this thing is behaving like this. And I'm wondering why. What do I check? Where do I go? Where do I see to confirm that it's behaving how, even though it looks like it on the surface? What can I use as proof that really something shady is going on behind the scenes? How do I check? Or how do I confirm that truly, even though it's behaving right on the UI, behind the scenes where it really matters, it is also behaving as right as it should be? And so that curiosity is really what sets you apart as a software tester. It's a superpower. It helps you unravel complex challenges, because that means that when a particular solution that you're not familiar with, you probably weren't even there when it was developed, when it comes up and you need to be the one that then tests it, your curiosity is what helps you know what questions to ask, to know that even though they didn't say test this area, let me check what is happening here. Let me ask about what is happening here so that I understand how it influences the current test I'm doing. Your curiosity is what helps you realize that, okay, this project is going to be a very complex project to test, but even as I'm testing it, there are some things that I think, being the voice of the user, I know the way users might think, and users will do something upside down, and then it doesn't work. It also helps you uncover edge cases, because it's your curiosity that will help you realize that, how will this behave? For instance, you're doing a file upload and you've uploaded a file, but how do you know that maybe for some reason, maybe an antivirus solution is not deleting that file you uploaded in the location you've uploaded it to? The only way to know is actually to test for it and to see how your system will behave. So imagine you're uploading the file somewhere and your system is then supposed to pick up that file and process it. But because the antivirus is deleting that file as soon as you upload it, then the file has disappeared and the system is misbehaving. Those are edge cases that you might not realize that you should check for. But those are things you should check for. And how would you test for that, for instance? What do you think, and how would you approach testing that? Those are things that we should consider when we're testing. And it only comes out from being curious, from trying to understand. So how, if I did this instead of the regular happy path, how would my system behave? How would my system respond? If I inputted data that where it's asking me for numbers, if I found a way to somehow get it to then take letters, how will the system respond? When I try an SQL injection, how will the system respond? And then when I load this particular system with a lot of requests at the same time, how will it behave? Will it be able to recover well, or will it be able to handle the problems well? Those are things that your curiosity would help you uncover. And the truth is, nobody in a classroom can teach you curiosity, but you as a person need to actually acquire that skill. So I want to believe I've pretty much, really flogged this enough to emphasize why curiosity is important to a tester. So I'll move to the next thing, which is collaboration. The way our work is set up, a tester cannot do the work alone, because even what the tester is testing was done by somebody else. And so they need, by default, to work with somebody else to ensure that the things that we're testing works. So with that in mind, you need to know how to communicate well and to keep your communications channel open. If you're the type who is, nobody should talk to me, don't look at my face, I am the QA and I know what is going on here, so I'm the authority, you're going to create problems for yourself. Because what will happen is everybody on the team will realize that one, please ignore him or ignore her. She's so full of herself, or he's so full of himself. I don't know what he's been smoking, and so he thinks that he knows better than the rest of us. And so what will happen is, even when you have a genuine and legit reason to actually tell them to fix something, they are less inclined to respond to you. Meanwhile, somebody else will come that just, smiles better and is a little more approachable and genuine, will come with even less important issues, and you see how quickly they'll respond and get it done. That's because the person has built, open communication channels and has been willing to collaborate with them and has been willing to come alongside with them to say, okay, how do we solve this problem? I see that our solution is behaving like this, and then the person has learned to speak in a way that is inclusive. That's part of what open communication involves. If I come and I accuse you and I say, Ayo, you were supposed to do this thing yesterday and then you did not do it, and now everything is failing. It's different from when I say, oh, wow, I noticed that this solution that we're saying we're going to fix yesterday is still failing. Is there a problem? Like, I don't know, have you changed it? Or have you, have you deployed the change that you would make? Because I'm assuming that you have done it. I'm not going to assume you've not done it. And that makes a world of difference with how Ayo would respond. One, I accused him, and so Ayo would be defensive and want to respond and say, no, I've done it. Versus, oh, actually, deployment is in progress, but it's, stalled. Let me check and see if it has completed. There are two different approaches. And that communication and how your communication would influence how and the side of the person you're getting. And so keep that in mind all the time. The other part is the culture of learning. The other part of collaboration is culture of learning. And that has to do with, you cannot afford to say, I already know everything there is to know, so there's nothing new for me to learn. And so when you come up every conversation, you're coming up like somebody who knows it all and does not want to hear anybody else's thoughts. When you have that kind of mindset or that kind of behavior, you're setting yourself up to fail. Because what will happen is you would not be able to receive additional information when you should, and you will be missing out details that would help you be a better tester. The final part is continuous improvement. Part of collaboration is to then know that, oh, because we're changing this particular section of this particular solution now, I need to also go and improve or change this. It also means that I'm going to continue. Hello?
I'm sorry. It's like they're just seeing only we are seeing only the first slide. I don't know whether it's network or you're still on the first slide.
Let me try something different. I have taken it out of full screen now.
Okay.
I could not see your, let me see. So I've been changing screen all along, but I don't know why what you're seeing is not changing. Let me try again. Let me stop presenting and try again.
All right. All right.
Apologies, everybody, as I could not see what you were doing all along. Okay, confirm what you can see now.
Okay, great. We can, yeah, we can see
it's moving now, yeah?
Yes, yes.
All right,
we are at 4 C's to becoming a pro.
Yes, so curiosity, talked about curiosity. So this was, the concept, and then there was collaboration. That is what I'm talking about now. Please confirm you can still see, the collaboration slide.
Yes, we can see.
All right, great. So so when I said collaboration, I said that it requires us we need, as QAs, we need to work with everybody else on the team to ensure things are done. And continuous improvement cannot be eliminated, because what you knew and what worked yesterday is not what is working today. I'll give you an example. When I started testing, I think at best it was only Selenium ID that was the automation tool that was available, record and play. Over time, there's been WebDriver, there's been Cypress, there's been Postman, there's been Cucumber, and there's been a whole lot of other things you can use to test. If you stay on just that one thing you knew when you started, by now you'll be a dinosaur, because then you'll be technology would move and leave you behind, basically. And now we're talking about AI testing. So imagine that I stay stuck on just knowing how to use Selenium again. I'm like, nope, I don't want to learn any other thing because it doesn't concern me. It would serve the purpose for a period, but after a while, it becomes impossible to keep up. And so that's part of where culture of learning and continuous improvement comes in. Continuous improvement also means that from time to time, you review your test and how you wrote it in the past. You're like, I need to refactor this particular test now to make it a bit more responsive, to make it faster, and to just make it, cater to some of the other changes that have happened in this particular product that I'm testing. So having said that, I'm going to move right on to the next thing, which is community. And that's basically what we have here on the school. You have a community of testers who are able to come from their different experiences into a room with you and share with you their thoughts and what they know and what they've experienced. And you can leverage those things that they share to cross-pollinate ideas and then build a more robust solution on your own side of the world. For instance, I work in a particular company, you work in where you work, and we all work in different places and we all have different experiences. Because I work in fintech, there are experiences I would have that somebody who works in edtech does not have. There are experiences that I have that somebody who works in insurance would not have. And there are experiences that that person has that I don't have. But when we come together and then we talk about, oh, this is how we're testing where I work, or this are the things that the problems I've been trying to solve recently, we begin to see, oh, I had a similar problem but in a different context, and this is what I did. Have you tried this? And I can go and say, oh, awesome, let me go and try that because that solves my problem. And I don't have to think too hard and grow too many gray hairs, to solve the problem. There's also the part of, cross-pollination of ideas, which is they say, okay, generally in the industry, this is what's going on as testers. Do we think we want to come together and teach each other how to use this particular tool so that we can all be excellent? Those are things that happen in community. They don't happen solo, because solo by yourself, you'll be struggling to even understand the tool, to understand the platform, and to get to the bottom of it. But when we're able to then come together in community, such as this one, learning opportunity is explosive. The flow of knowledge and and sharing and dissemination of knowledge is faster, and then we can cross-pollinate ideas much more easily. And I will then come to the final C. As far as my slide goes, there are more, but I'll stop on this one. It's credibility. As you're building your curiosity and you're improving your collaboration, you're also joining communities, one of the things that will set you apart is your credibility. Imagine that I came here and I said, oh, I work with Google, when everybody knows I work with InterSwitch. That makes me a liar. And then the question then is, how do we then trust anything else that she says? Because she's already even lied to us. So there's no credibility here. It's also the fact that credibility also means that when you're testing, you're not just looking for spurious issues to report. You are honestly doing the work and making sure that what you're finding are true errors, not just things that are, well, imagine that you work in an organization that says that as a tester, you have to log against, every week you must find at least maybe 100 bugs, for instance. And because you're trying to meet that quota of 100 bugs, you start logging all kinds of spurious errors or bugs against your team members because you're trying to meet your own 100 bugs. Whereas you can go back and tell your team leader, dear team lead, I see what you're trying to achieve by asking us to log 100 bugs per week. However, this particular solution is so well built that it really does not have 100 bugs. So can we review the bug requirements for this particular solution to something lower so that at least it is more realistic and I'm not trying to manufacture things that do not exist? That is credibility, because that is not you trying to then manufacture bugs against your team member just because, well, I need to meet my 100 bug counts. You're going to say, no, you're going to use your influence to then, you're going to build your influence and credibility with your manager to say, see, this is what is going on in this particular solution, and I don't think it's going to meet that particular KPI or that particular metrics you're trying to look for. So let's adjust it to fit what is realistic in this particular solution. Credibility also means that because you are good at what you do and you honestly do good work, when you log a bug, when you say there's a problem here, people do not say you're crying wolf. They know you're telling the truth. I'm sure we all know the story of the boy who cried wolf, where he was a shepherd, and whenever he's out in the mountains watching the sheep, he will shout wolf, wolf, wolf. The villagers will come to help him and realize, oh, there was no wolf, he was just playing. The day the wolf really came, nobody came to rescue him because they were used to him shouting wolf, even when there was no wolf. So in the same conversation, in the same thread, when you are testing, don't be that person who just always finds all kinds of random and untrue tests or untrue issues. Because when that happens, the day when you find a real issue, the person that you're telling will still not take it serious because they're like, no, but today you always tell us lies. Or you're not always sincere with the bugs you're logging. So keep that in mind. Having said that, impactful communication is required in order for us to actually make a difference. It is that you know what you're trying to communicate, you know who you're trying to speak to, and you understand that if I speak to them a certain way, I won't get the kind of result I want. So I'm going to speak to them differently. It's knowing that, okay, because I want them to trust me and believe me. So I would make sure that every time I say something, it is true and it is credible and it is, it is honest. It is not malicious. It's not me taking things personal because I want to get back at them. It's not me being vindictive. It is you being honest about what is going on. And also that helps you build influence, because then your credibility means that when you say it is, they believe it is. And that makes a world of difference, because then nobody's trying to double check you and micromanage you and look at what you're doing again, because they know that, oh, this person, he knows his onions, she knows her onions. What she says, what he says is true always. And so consistently, it makes it easy for your words to be believed. The final one that I'm just going to chip in, even though it's not mentioned on this slide, is critical analysis and critical reasoning. Basically, it means being able to sit down and critically explore and in fine detail comb through an issue to find where the real problems will be, where the real benefits will be, where the risks are, and then making informed decisions based on that. Being able to analyze it and be like, okay, because I'm testing a flight solution, a solution has to do with flight, that's planes flying. it's life critical, it's mission critical, because lives will be involved. People will be flying in here by the time they use this application. So I need to make sure that this particular area and this particular area is checked well. I need to confirm that whatever measurements the instruments are reading and rendering in the solution are properly recorded. For instance, I don't know if we know how sensitive a plane is, such that if you shift by even 0.1 degree on the readings of where you should be going, you will land in a totally different place entirely than where you originally planned to go. So with that understanding, you then know that this system cannot be approximating anything. It has to give us a precise reading in a way that ensures that the instruments can then be set accordingly and set the plane on the course it should go. Those kind of things come from critical reasoning and critical analysis, where you sit down and take your time to actually explore and really dig through and dig into it to understand completely the length, the breadth, and the depth of what you're working on, and then making informed recommendations and informed decisions as to how to approach, testing that solution. And so with all of this that I've said, because I really want us to be able to discuss as much as possible, I would say that this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you for listening and being engaged for the last 20 to 30 minutes that we have spoken. I would be looking forward to receiving your questions now. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see the Chrome window and then, take your questions. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Temitope. So does anybody have any question? You can just raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question. We're waiting. We're waiting. Any question at all? You're just trying to make headway into this career. Any question at all? Because I believe Temitope is a professional and she can answer any of your questions. All right. For Larry, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I must say that I not really a question, but this is just a commendation, because this is not the first time I'll be having a meeting with Temitope. Actually, she must have probably maybe forgotten me, but she's someone I could still recall over and over again. I was under the AC the day I met her, but I was sweating like a cockroach. It was actually an interview that I was having with her. Yeah, she was spot on when she said that she works with InterSwitch. That day, that was actually ridiculous for me, because she's top notch. She knows what she's doing. I Trust me, Temitope, I envy you a lot, because indeed you know what you're doing. When I saw the invites, excuse me, I was so avid to in fact make that thing, as in what we're having now, to happen that specific day. That, okay, I'm looking forward to hearing Temitope speak, because she's someone, maybe to me personally, you are someone renowned. I appreciate you so well. And I believe that if you keep on doing this over and over again, trust me, a lot of people will be dining on your table. You understand, especially those that are new into the system. I really do not have I wouldn't say I have questions to ask you, but I'm just here to appreciate you. That's all. Thanks so much. I appreciate once again.
Thank you for Larry, and thanks for the glowing commendations.
You're welcome.
I see John's hand up. Is John asking a question? If yes, please go ahead.
John, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, but not. My question is not related to what our teacher taught us today, Temitope. First of all, sorry. Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. I really appreciate. But I want to ask a question. I believe I'll be speaking for most of the testers here. In a situation where in a team where there is no PO available, and then the tester is being asked to do the work of the product owner. What advice do you have to give to such tester in such a situation where the tester has to be the product owner of the product?
Okay, so I'll tell you this. In my past life, I won't tell you how long ago, that was pretty much what was obtainable because we did not have a role called product owner. So the QA person was the custodian of the documentation, custodian of requirement documents, sometimes custodian of the roadmap as well. And what that did was it gave most of us who worked that way at that time a robust view of how these things work. So right now, today, things are fine-tuned and very separated and segmented, where you then have a product owner, you have a program manager, and then you have the developers on the team. You have a choice to make depending on how fast and how well you want to grow your career, and then how much of a generalist or a specialist you want to be. And I'm talking about many things right now, so I'm just going to try and, quickly touch everything and then come home with it, which is a generalist is somebody who has a good idea of everything, but does not have in-depth knowledge of everything. A specialist is somebody who has in-depth knowledge on one section, on one area, and has full breadth and full depth understanding of that particular section, but it's only narrow. So think about a generalist as somebody who is wide. Think about a specialist as somebody who is narrow but deep. When you have that understanding, you then need to ask yourself, John, today, who do I want to be? Do I want to be a generalist or a specialist? And is it okay to be a generalist now at this stage of my career? Or is it better to be a specialist at this stage of my career? That will then determine your choice as to do I want to then take on that product ownership function in addition to my quality assurance role that I was originally employed for. Personally, if you're starting out in your career, I would say explore to an extent. You can then negotiate with your line manager and say, I hear you, I hear what you want me to do, I hear you want me to take on this product owner function. But knowing that I do not have the full capacity, seeing as I'm not trained as a product owner, you need to first of all cut me some slack to ensure that I am not being 100% measured as a product manager or product owner, for instance. But I'm happy to take on some of the functions. So let's define the functions, the parts of it that you want me to take up, or that I can afford to take up right now in addition to the quality assurance product and function. What that does is, one, it sets you apart as somebody who wants to work, somebody who is actually also open to learning, but it also means that you're also understanding of, okay, this is condition, this is situation of the organization right now, and I'm willing to be flexible to accommodate some of what needs to happen in the organization. But if you think that you just want to be a specialist and a specialist only, then you're also free to tell your team, your team leader, I think that is not in line with the career goals I have for myself, and I would rather just stick to this side of things. And if you say it properly and respectfully, I suspect that your line manager, even if they don't agree with you, might be willing to accommodate your personal choices, because at the end of the day, your career is yours, and I tell people to manage their career by themselves. Don't hand it off to anybody else to manage for you. So that will be my take. And I'll try to know without trying to understand what it requires and without trying to check with your own self what you really want to do would be a disservice to yourself. But when you've confirmed to yourself that do I want to be a generalist or a specialist? If it's a specialist, that means your focus is only QA. So by all means, politely tell your line manager that I would not be willing to take on that additional responsibility. But if you're open to being a generalist and wanting to understand what every other function in your value chain does, then I think it's a good opportunity to actually take it up and then see how and where it leads you. One thing I know for sure is that no knowledge is ever wasted. So what it means is that it's probably going to end up setting you apart and making you a much more distinct team member, because you'll be able to have the perspective of a product owner and the perspective of a QA to bring to bear in the particular work you're doing. So that's my take on that. I don't know if that helps you in some way. All right, great. I see you're clapping, so I guess that does. If anybody else has any other questions, it doesn't have to be fully related to what I discussed earlier today. I think we still have a few minutes and I'm happy to answer some of the other questions. So please shoot.
It's question and answer time. If you have any question, please you can raise your hand. You can put it in the chat session, and she's here to answer.
If somebody is asking me, I can ask questions of my own.
Please do. Okay, Toby wants to ask a question.
Please go
Please,
ahead.
Toby.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Temitope. It has really been insightful and I've gained so much for this short period of time. Yeah, my question is, I just need an advice on what is currently happening in where I work. I'm a junior QA and I'm the only QA there. And sometimes when I carry out tests, regression tests or smoke tests, I find out some bugs, but the product owner, he doesn't even give room for these bugs to be resolved. All he wants is just to beat deadlines, and it tells the engineering team to deploy. And you keep pointing out these bugs to him. You even document these bugs on Jira, and all he cares about is you guys should deploy. I'm trying to meet deadline. We need to put out something for the CEO to see. And at the end of the day, when you do a demo, the CEO starts complaining that, oh, why wasn't this thing put in place? And these are things raised. There are tickets already for these things. I just need an advice on how to handle such scenarios, because I can't even come out on Slack and start pointing out and accusations. So I told the manager, I told him these things, but he didn't pay attention to it. I can't do such things. So I just need an advice on how to handle such situations.
Okay, I can imagine how you feel, because I mean, if you, first of all, from what you mentioned, you're a junior QA on the team, and it sounds to me like in the way the system works, the product manager or the product owner seems to have autonomy to decide when and what goes to production. So that puts you in a bit of a tight spot, which I understand. And I'll point you back to what I'd mentioned about collaboration. So I would ask, what's your relationship like with your developers? That's one.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with them.
Awesome.
Yes.
So those are your allies. Build allyship with them. Build a, you guys should align basically together and say, okay, at the end of the day, when we go for demos, we are the ones who get the flack when things do not work perfectly. So can we agree amongst ourselves that we'll build a buffer into the time? So if, for instance, if the product manager comes and says, we're supposed to do this particular feature next, and it's 3 of them, and it's going to take us a week, based on the team's estimation that it's going to take them a week. Can you guys plan amongst yourself and say, okay, because we also have technical debts that we need to pay, rather than telling him it's going to take us a week, how about we tell him it's going to take us a week and 3 days? The goal of the additional 3 days you're adding as a buffer is to fix the technical debts you already know exists in that system based on the previous sprints you completed, that you know that if you call it out right now, the product manager would not give you room to fix. But if you build it in, if you build a time for it to fix it into the solution, into the sprint you're working on, then you can end up closing those bugs behind the scenes and under the table. At the end of the day, you go for demos. The demos will be perfect because you fix the existing bugs, and the CEO will not rake for you guys. Everybody will look good and you leave the table looking good and smelling fresh. So that is one approach. So what you have to do is probably speak with your team members, the developers, and negotiate with them, and you guys have an agreement and an understanding. And this is what we'll start doing to ensure that we stop looking bad. Because what will happen is the product manager will be like, "But I told them to do it and they've done it. Why is it? But they didn't do it well." He would not come and say, I was insistent that they should do it and finish it within a particular time frame, or that I refused to allow the team fix the bugs that they had identified before. I was more focused on new features. But when you guys align that way and you have an understanding that this is why we are doing this additional time, over time, you guys would have fixed all the bugs, and then you can go back to estimating 1 week again, and life continues smoothly, and nobody's any wiser, but you solve the problems that needs to be solved. So that's one solution. The other solution is also when there is, when the product manager's head is calm and relaxed and chill and is having fun, or she's happy, have a conversation with them as well and discuss with them and tell them, over time, this has been the trend we're experiencing. We've been building a solution for this length of time, and these are the number of bugs we now have in the backlog that we have not been able to fix. I suspect that by the time we go to production and our users start using this system as heavily as they would, because we plan to grow, we will start having challenges with support and operations, because these problems will become much more glaring and in the face of our customers, and it will make us lose face. Depending on the kind of economy, the kind of industry you are, like for me who is in fintech, that kind of problem, if you bring it out and people see it, after a while you become the joke and the meme on Instagram and on Twitter and everywhere else, because they will say your system and your solution is crappy. So when you sell it to them from the perspective of the value it brings to fixing those problems, they will probably align as well. So you go to both sides, talk to your team members, the developers, you guys find a solution that whether or not the product owner says yes, it will solve the problem. Then go to the product owner too and paint the picture of why it is a problem that needs to be resolved and why you think they should give you guys room as a team to resolve it. That they should even help you buy time from the CEO, help us negotiate with the CEO that instead of us delivering it in 1 week, let him give us like 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks, we're committing to fixing all of these things. That is after, of course, you've discussed and agreed with your developers. So that way, when you guys come in, like, in this particular week, these 2 weeks window we are coming to fix these problems, and when we're done fixing it, we know it has gone away forever and everybody's happy. So that is really what needs to come in. So that is part of where the collaboration I talked about earlier comes in. You need to develop collaboration here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Toby. Does anybody else have anything else? Otherwise, Adobe, the floor is back to you. It's back to you.
Larry has a question.
All right, Larry, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks once again. I hope I'm still audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thanks. So I want to share something with you. It's a question actually, and this is something I've witnessed, several times during the phase of an interview. In fact, I had the same question with InterSwitch. So you're giving us the luxury to ask any questions.
Right.
As regards. So fine. What specific type of testing are conducted to ensure the reliability and functionality of the fridge lights? That's the refrigerator's light system. Particularly focusing on its behavior of turning off when the door is closed and on when the door is open. Now, the last
question,
time,
but I'm not going to answer it.
Please now.
Because there's no one answer to it. It's a creative thinking
Okay.
question. That's where critical reasoning comes in. So it's a critical reasoning question that basically what it's trying to explore is to see how the person thinks and solves problem. So there's no one answer to it. The real answer is how do you think? That is what is being checked in those kind of questions. So that's all I'm going to be able to share with you.
But that's not fair. But then
there's no one answer to it. The way I would test a fridge to confirm that the light is off is not the same way you will, and it doesn't mean we're wrong. It is just a sense of understanding how does Folari solve problems, how does his mind work, and then see if it's a very nimble, agile, and creative problem solving, or if it's a very straight one-way direction. If it doesn't work this way, then it's brute force we are going to use, or it's not working. So for instance, let me give you a context of where that applies. Sorry, I'm cutting you so that you just understand why there's no one answer to it. For instance, I'm testing the solution and then I realize that on the UI, it tells me successful. But when I go and I pull the reports, I'm not seeing the data I should see, the way I should see it, even though what I sent was different. It requires me to think, to understand what are the touch points along the track and the flow of this particular test to get to the solution and get the answer that I expected to see. So if I'm not seeing the answer I expected to see, how do I approach figuring out where the problem might be? How do I solve that problem? One person might say, it's not working. I checked the report and I checked the UI says successful screenshots. Report says it's not there, screenshot, developer, fix your problem. That's one way. One other person would say, why is this thing not working? I really want to understand why it's not working. And then their curiosity kicks in and they start checking different places. Okay, so when it leaves this particular UI, it calls this API. Then the person goes Postman and calls the API directly and sees how the API behaves. Okay, the API does the right thing. It tells me success. Okay, when it leaves the API, where does it go to? It goes to the database, or it goes to a Kafka queue. Maybe it's a queuing system. It goes to the queue. So what happens on the queue? Let me go and see what's on the queue. Is anything happening on the queue to transform that message and change it differently? You go to the Kafka queue and then you check. Okay, is there a problem here? No, it looks right on the Kafka queue, but there's a background service that's picking records from the Kafka queue. Okay, go and check. That background service, when it then acts on it, what does it do? Where does it push the data to? Oh, is at the database level that the data type of that particular field was different, and so it's not passing the right data. It's the same problem. Two of them solved it, right? They reported it, but one person chose to go and explore, critically think, and arrive at a solution. So when you're in an interview and they're asking you critical reasoning questions, there are certain questions that there's no one answer to it. It's really about how you think that they're going to explore. And so they're listening to you think out loud and share with them your process as to how you solve that problem. So that question of, lights on in a fridge or off, it's not the question is not the question. If you understand, your answer is really where the answer is. How you respond is where the answer is, because that's when I then see, oh, this is how Folaren thinks, this is how John thinks, this is how Emmanuel thinks. And so I can then tell quickly, is Emmanuel nimble in how he thinks enough that he wouldn't just come and tell me there's a problem and then hands off? Or will he take his time to understand the problem and understand potential solutions to the problem and then present everything to the team? That is what sets people apart in their careers, really. Is like the story. There's a popular story of they sent two salesmen to the market to go and price the amount, to go and check the price of orange. One person got there and they said orange has finished, and they came back from orange has finished. The other person got there and said orange has finished, but what else do you have? That's like orange. Oh, we have grapes and tangerines. How much are they? What is their sizes? And then came back and said, okay, I went to the market. Orange has finished, but they had tangerines and they had grapes. This is the price of tangerines. And then if you're buying by dozen, they're going to reduce it by this percentage. This is the price of grapes. If you're buying by the dozen, they reduce it by this price. These two of them did the work that would make sense, but one did it with more flair than the other, and that made a difference. Folari, I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. But then I just want to hear how you are going to think as regards the question. You understand?
I just explained it to you how I would think. I said I would go beyond just the level. You want me to tell you exactly the answer to the video? To the lights in a fridge. And I said, no, I'm not. Because again, anybody and everybody has different answers. And my answer does not make it right either. The problem is if I answer it that way, you will go somewhere else and answer it the same way if it comes up. But it's not the truth. That's not the truth answer.
I'm just curious, but yeah, I do get you. Because most times I only talk about the concept of straight and transitioning, and I've had this same question more than 2 times, maybe probably 3 times max. So that's why I'm just so curious. But it's fine. It doesn't have a direct answer. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Rebecca. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for the training today. I really learned a lot from your session. So I just want to ask, a situation whereby as a tester, you found the bug. That bug is a critical bug, but then all other team members are not seeing it as a critical bug. Please, how do you make them see it as a critical bug? Because even after escalating to your manager, it's almost like your manager is still seeing it as, oh, this is not a major thing. It's not a major thing. I don't know if you understand me. So
I understand.
And this is something that could affect your assessment. Please, how do you defend? Or is it that you just with them and just say, okay, it's not a critical bug, but let's just try and fix it? Or what do you suggest, please?
I'll tell you a story. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to a close friend of mine. And what had happened was they were testing a system, and it was a critical system. And when she was done, she said, I think we should load test this particular system because I'm not comfortable with the way it would respond. I don't think it would behave the way I want it to behave under the right load. And all the decision makers said no, she shouldn't. However, what she had done different was she sent, rather than chat with them, she had sent it by email. And so somehow, I think they also responded by email to say, no, leave it, don't touch it. Months down the line, the system is in production and it was failing. And the first thing was, really, didn't we test the system properly? Who tested? Okay, you were the one. When you were testing, didn't you check for all of this? And she said, yes, I did. And I asked that we should load test, and everybody said no. She didn't even argue. She just said, excuse me. When they started, she just said, excuse me. But because it was in the meeting, she just said, excuse me. She went out. She printed the emails out and distributed it to everybody in the meeting room and said, this was the email where I said we should do that. I asked that we should take our time and do this, and everybody that was influential or that could make a decision said to not do it. And so that is why it was not done. At that point, she had defended herself without saying a word, because what she had just done was to bring evidence that I recognized this problem and I tried to address it, but since it was deemed as insignificant or less important, it was not solved at the time. So I cannot be liable for it, basically. So in your case, you do something similar. Document it. How? Send an email, dear team members, or dear line manager and influential people in this particular situation. This is what the problem is, and this is the solution that I propose. Kindly approve, or kindly confirm that it's okay to resolve or not resolve. You ask the question in a way that leaves them in a bind. They might either end up having to say only yes, because yes is probably the only solution that makes them look good. In which case, then they will fix the bug, or they will still boldly come out and tell you no, ignore it. And once they say ignore it, you now have proof that when during your assessment somebody comes and is like, oh, this particular thing went wrong and it was because you didn't do this particular thing, you have proof and say, yeah, because chances are the person who said you shouldn't fix it is also the person who would assess you. You can then bring that out and say, during the course of the period under review, this had happened and I had shared this concern, and this was the result, or this was the response I had gotten, and it's based on that the team did not fix the problem, not because I did not raise it. And so that kind of saves you and removes your culpability. Rebecca, do you think that will work for you?
I feel like I should try it. It will help. Thank you so much.
So please try.
All right.
I hope it does right now.
Okay, ma'am. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rashida, please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for the insightful session. I have a question actually. Take for example, a recruiter and during the process of interviewing someone, would you prioritize technical skills to soft skills like the one you took us through earlier, or the balance of both?
Okay,
Thank you.
So the response to that is also subject to what level and what experience level I expect for that particular role I'm recruiting for. If, for instance, I'm recruiting for an entry level, then I would look out for their learning agility. How well and how quickly does this person learn? Because that tells me that will tell me how flexible they will be to learning new things and taking new knowledge in. Now, if I'm recruiting for experienced hire, I would look beyond just their functional skills, because at an experienced hire, I take it for granted you already know the basic things you should know about testing. So you're not coming to learn how to test. You're coming to use your testing skills that you have to help the team and the organization grow. With that in mind, I would then look beyond just your testing. At every level, I look at soft skills and learning agility. But at that level of experience, I then look at your soft skills and how mature are they. So, for instance, somebody who says they've been in the field for say 3 to 5 years, so your career is about 3 to 5 years long already, and you still cannot demonstrate a measure of critical reasoning, I will be concerned. Or you cannot demonstrate a measure of community and collaboration to the extent that everybody is against you, you're always fighting with everybody, I will be concerned. And you wonder, how do you find out that there are questions you ask during interviews that prompts a person, and their response will tell you how they respond to interactions and frictions in the workplace, and that helps for real if they are the type that can take corrections, or if they are the type that are collaborative. Don't get me wrong, if anybody knows anything about the workplace, you know that you would have colleagues that you guys do not agree. You will meet people who are just different, and their thought processes and the way they just approach things can just be very divergent to yours. But even with that at the back of your mind, the professional person is required to then still find a way to navigate those interactions in a way that ensures that you're not having a shouting match in the office all the time. So for me as a recruiter, I would look out for your soft skills to the level of experience I'm expecting for you. So if I'm expecting a new person, I just want to see that you're able to learn and that you have a basic understanding of the concepts around testing. If I'm hiring for experience, I expect a maturity of those soft skills, because if you're an experienced hire, then you're telling me you've been around for a few years in the industry and you've worked in 1 or 2 places. So you work with people. By now, your people skills should be better. Your ability to think and solve problems should be better. Your ability to dimension a problem in a way that makes it simple to solve should be better. It shouldn't be like the person who is just coming from school who we have to still teach. And so that would also influence what I'm expecting from you and the level of competence in those areas that I'm expecting from you. because those are the things that then set you apart in the workplace. I always joke that you can learn any skill that is hard, but the soft skills are what makes you a different kind of person. Those are what makes you, because also for if somebody who is 3 to 5 years, you're probably already becoming senior this, senior that, and getting ready to lead a team. So if you don't have those soft skills to the right measure, how would you lead the team you're about to come and join? How would you influence the team? Because sometimes people assume that until I have the title of head of this or team lead before I become a leader, but no. Even in your position as an expert who has had 3-4 years experience, you're already leading. You already have influence because somebody else is coming in who has 1 year experience. How do you influence that person? Leadership is influence. It's not the title, it's influence. So when you understand that it is influence, you would understand that I need to hone my soft skills in a way that helps me to position different from the guy who just left school yesterday. So Rashid, I hope that kind of helps you.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you so
All right,
much.
then. Do we have more questions? And Adobe, do we still have time to take more?
We're running out of time anyways. It's 1
Yes,
hour
it's already 10, that's
since we
why
started.
yes.
But yeah, so but I don't know, we can entertain one more question if we have any more questions. But if we don't, I think this is where we'll call it a day. But before that, I would like to tell us about our hangout or meetup, which is 30th of March. When we started this meeting, I dropped the link to this meeting. So I dropped the link to the meet, that's the meet and greet. I dropped the link for it, and I was saying that we have almost 200 people who have registered, and we have a slot for just 250 people. So if you have not registered for this meet and greet, which is coming up on 30th of March, please kindly do, especially if you're staying in Lagos. Like, this is an opportunity for you to meet other software testers, network, ask questions, meet other people in the field and interact with them. And we're going to be having some panel sessions with top people in the industry. We're going to be having time to have fun. I don't know how many of us that attended the Techies Meet Testers in November. It was absolute fun, and this is going to be like a part 2 of it. So if you have not registered, this is the link on the chat, in the chat session. This is the link. You can just go ahead and register, and we're all prepared for you. I don't know if you're prepared for us. So apart from that, tomorrow we're going to be starting a new cohort for those who want to start up a career in software testing or those who want to upskill, which is, we're going to be starting a course in a new cohort, that's cohort 21 for switch to software testing, and cohort 6 for test automation simplified for manual testers. So if you want to like take this course, you can also check out our website. I'll be dropping the link too. You can check out the website, and you can also DM me on Slack if you're on Slack on TestarsQuarter. You can check out our website or DM me on Slack for more information. This is the website, academic.testifyltd.com. And also, if you're not on Slack, you are missing a whole lot. If you're not on Slack, I'll be dropping a link for you to join Slack. So that's for today's topic. Just stay glued to Slack, the events channel, and also on the announcements on Monday concerning who is going to be speaking and the topic the person is going to be speaking on. But trust me, it's going to be a very, very insightful one. So kindly be on Slack and expect all the goodies we have for you. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for spending time. And how I really enjoyed this session, and I learned a lot from it. And also those who asked questions, your questions were very, very, very insightful. It made her like expatiate more, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you so much, and we'll be expecting you all on by this time, same station next week. Have a very, very wonderful weekend and bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Adaobi. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
The recorded session, are we going to have access to it?
Okay, if you yes, I can drop the recorded session. I'll drop the recorded session later today on the announcement channel on Slack.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right, thank you.
You are the manager of the community. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye.